All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, and we're back. Another edition of the NFL playoff shows. We've got the championship round, my favorite weekend of the entire NFL season. I know everybody loves the Super Bowl, but I think this is a bigger weekend. I love this one every single year. Got Hoopster here with me, got Title as usual. Going to break it all down for you guys. Going to go position by position for the two-gamer. It's a two-game staggered slate. Be able to watch those games back-to-back. Hoopster, bring you in, man. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Well, would have been doing a little bit better if my Lions were playing this weekend, but they definitely do not deserve to be here after that absolute egg, and I'm sure we'll get into it. We can kind of, we'll have a lot of time to talk through some things and air some grievances, so we'll get into all that, but I'm with you, man. This is it. I mean, the teams have everything to play for, obviously, going to the Super Bowl. I love the teams that are in, and I think they have all deserved their spot for sure, and Commanders definitely have deserved their spot. Jaden Daniels, absolutely phenomenal, and they're just playing. They're playing to their team's strengths, and you absolutely love to see it. So, obviously they're the one surprising team playing this weekend, but they've definitely deserved it. Eagles, just getting the job done despite Jalen Hurts being a little dinged up, and it seems actually pretty real that he is dinged up. We'll talk about that as well. Wearing a knee brace today, so he's clearly not 100%. And then I'm excited to see the Bills and the Chiefs, man. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for that game. That's going to be a fun one for sure. And, in terms of DFS, obviously we'll get into it all, but it's a pretty, interesting slate, I'll say, from the perspective of, man, you look at the wide receiver, there is just not many appealing wide receiver plays. There's one running back play that everyone wants to play, and the sites did a horrendous job pricing him, which is very, very unfortunate. So we'll talk about all that. But, back to your main point, very excited for these two games. It's a lot of fun, and looking forward to watching them.
Yeah, I'm just excited for both, and I love what you said there. Like, I think the Buffalo Kansas City game always has some history to it. It's Josh Allen Mahomes, but Jaden Daniels, man, this guy is something. I just pulled it up. Metro Boomin said to the moon. We like that. You can't run to the moon, but you can take a rocket ship, so we appreciate that. A couple things before I bring Title in. Food takes, we'll get those at the end. Don't worry, we always got you on that. And the Lions lost, the Ravens lost, and lost the Fantasy Golf World Championship seat on the last putt. So things are all staying the same, Hoop, where nobody cares work harder, but we're close.
Yeah.
We're waiting to bust out. Title, you've had a ton of close calls recently as well yourself, my friend, so maybe today is the day. What's going on, Title? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I was debating on what hat to wear. I'm like, today feels like a great day to ship it. There's a lot of money on both sites. We're ready to get it back today. I do love this week, but it's really bittersweet. I mean, there's only one more game left, and it's a showdown slate, and then NFL is done for the year. So my favorite, always week one, because I know we have a lot of football left. But, I mean, man, I think two Super Bowls back-to-back, seeing Buffalo and Baltimore, I thought two of the best teams. Now Chiefs, Bills, two of the best teams. So, I mean, you can't really draw up a better football game with the history and stuff too. And, yeah, Jaden Daniels is balling, 6-point underdogs on the road, divisional matchup in the division championship. So it's really, really fun. Two great games, big boy money up top. Pricing awful, though, so we'll get into it. You can leave heaps of salary for sure.
One thing about that, because Hoops mentioned it, you mentioned it, I certainly agree 100%, like everybody does. And I know what people always say, and I say it too, is, we all are dealing with the exact same slate. We all have the same horrendous pricing. If that's how you view it, we do very clearly. So we have to talk about how to play it. And that's what we do on this show. So we're going to break it all down as we get through it. I'm treating it almost more like a showdown slate because while there's two games, it's very simple to just look at your best lineup that has AJ Brown, knock AJ Brown down to Devonta Smith and hope that Smith comes through. That's going to be way less duped than that. I think a lot of people expect it, if it goes the way it's supposed to be a highly chopped slate on a two-gamer with the pricing like this. You are going to have to look for ways to get different, and that will certainly be some of them. Some receipts came out yesterday, Hoop. More receipts, I will say. I know it's a football show, but more people are posting their golf betting slip after winning now. They're even tagging you in them, Hoop. So you're starting a movement for people knowing that you're on patrol and you need to see those receipts. So Harris English,
but it's the honest people that I expect to get them from. The scammers in the industry are still hiding their receipts. The ones trying to sell their content and not posting any wins to go along with it, or posting anything to go along with it. So the honest, loyal people out there, definitely the ones that are posting the receipts, the ones that I have my eye on looking for, still ain't seeing them.
Hoop out here, making golf betting great again. Look at him go.
Yeah,
so
definitely, yeah,
appreciate it.
New times.
All right. Before we get into it, the grand scheme overview, breaking this one all down, there was just a quick chat on the last weekend stuff. Hoop, anything that you can take away, bringing it over to this week from what you saw last week? We'll start there because we know these two teams, we know these games, but what's fresh in your mind just coming over from last weekend?
You kind of now just opened up the box into last week, so I'm going to go on a quick little rant in regards to my Lions, and you guys can you can take it however you want. I mean, that's a inexcusable loss as a Lions fan, or as just in the Lions organization. You can't lose that game, and I get Jaden Daniels has been phenomenal, but 9.5, 10-point favorite at home, 15-2 in the regular season, fight your ass off all the way through week 18 to get the bye, and then you just get smoked. It was never even close. You just get absolutely dusted by a rookie quarterback. And again, taking nothing away from Jaden Daniels at all. He is phenomenal. Just cannot let that happen. I mean, that just cannot happen. I mean, right out of the gate, it was just stupid. And we talked about it on the show because we said we're going to know right away what the Lions plan on doing with David Montgomery, and it was a massive mistake. I mean, they open up the first drive with Montgomery, give him 2 touches. You can tell no explosiveness at all. I mean, he's got nothing at that point. You could totally tell. I mean, there was nothing there. And they punt right away because they give him 2 carries. And that was, to me, a huge, huge mistake, like right out of the gate. It needed to be massively in favor of Jahmyr Gibbs, like almost maybe all the work. I mean, the dude is an absolute stud in terms of, where he ranks with running backs. He's right up there with the top guys. If he gets all the work, he's the Saquon Barkley. He's a Derrick Henry. Whoever you have ranked up there, Jahmyr Gibbs is right with them. And the fact that you're not even opening up the games with that guy, first mistake right out of the gate. And then, people are posting about Goff. Goff was fucking awful, right? And he's had these games all season long, like really bad games. I remember the Texans. He was terrible, 5 interceptions. He was beyond awful. And I personally, I know a lot of people want to defend him. I think it's a bigger picture thing. As a Lions fan, it's hard for me to say this, but their asses are not winning with him as their quarterback. And you look at the quarterbacks that are left right now: Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and then Mahomes to some degree runs a little bit, but those other 3 are primary running quarterbacks. You don't have to be a running quarterback. You have to be elusive enough to get away from some pressure, and he's a fucking statue back there and just takes it, and it leads to bad passes. I mean, the interceptions were terrible. And then, man, there's just so many things you can go into, but for me, you got to give Gibbs almost all the work in that game, and they didn't. You could tell right away with Montgomery, and they kept trying to go back to him. So stupid. Goff was terrible. And then the other thing that's just so funny to me, like Aaron Glenn is like, he just gave up 45 points in the first round of the playoffs to a rookie quarterback, and these teams still want his ass. Like, that's crazy to me. I get the Ben Johnson thing. He's been very innovative with the play calling. The Jameson Williams play, I think, was a really bad pick in that spot. Like, makes no sense. Like, I get it. But if it's not there, you just throw it away or something. I mean, just giving the team an interception, I think that was a really bad play call in that spot. And then Jameson Williams is fully checked out. But that is a very inexcusable loss from the Lions. I was at the game, and, like, it just kills me to see these fans, man. NFL fans are like no other. I mean, they are like no other. It's their lives, man. These people. I mean, I wasn't in the suite, and I'm not like bragging about being in a suite usually, but I wasn't in a suite. I was with the common folk, and these people behind you, in front of you, to the sides, like, this is their life, and I didn't realize it was to that degree. I mean, it is their life, man, and like they're down 17 with 3 minutes to go, and these fans still think they're coming back and winning this game. And you can't say anything negative about any of the players, any of the coaches. Like, they are in no matter what. That was a tough scene. I'm not going to lie to witness all that. But my main takeaway as a Lions fan is, man, they are not going to win a Super Bowl with Goff as their quarterback. And, it's obviously, people are going to say, oh, it's one bad game. No, man, like that's a bigger picture issue. Goff is not the answer for the Lions. So.
So I appreciate the rant, as does the chat, because it's good to get that off your chest. But one thing I heard in all of that, and it was, you got to hear between the lines, if you will, the lines, hear between. I heard that you would take Lamar Jackson over Goff, is all I heard right there. Because at the start of the season, you told me there's no way, but it sounds like you would rather Lamar Jackson than Jared Goff.
Same result for Lamar Jackson for like the 6th playoff run in a row. I mean, he's not the answer in the playoffs either. Those were bad turnovers, and you know how it's going to end. I know you guys. I mean, Title was in on the Ravens financially. I know that's your team, but at some point you got to say the guy can't get the job done, and he continues to fail. I mean, and bad mistakes too. I mean, just dropping the ball. They pick it up, and then the interception really
dropped the ball too. That was the key factor.
Other issues too. Don't get me wrong, but man, Lamar, he can't get the job done. So, and it's tougher. It's a tougher route for him too in the AFC when you have to contend every year with. He's going to have to beat Josh Allen and Mahomes at some point over the next 10 years. Those guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So it's a much tougher path for him. I will say that, but his ass can't get the job done.
Yeah, I think you'd rather him than Goff. Title, where are you at on this? Shout out to Joanne, by the way, first in the comments. Got to give her credit. She was up at the crack of dawn with the late night crew over in the SHIPIT Nation Discord. She must have been over on the comments when we were doing that. But Title, I'll let you chime in. The bet pushed. Someone said if it had went to OT, would you technically win because the Ravens made it a quarter longer?
No,
it's not how it works.
What is it, Charlie Brown? So Lamar's going to have to throw the ball 70 yards in the air and run under and catch it? Is that what Lamar needs to do? I mean,
this is true too, man. This is the other thing. It's just, you put him over in the NFC, not facing off against Mahomes, and you said he played the same result last week. He played his MVP contender, Josh Allen, and the team that's like the favorite still in a good spot. Now, the Mahomes stuff is always going to be there, so not quite. And we'll talk about my bet later on, but I will say I think a lot of people still like the Bills today against the Chiefs. But go ahead, Title.
Yeah. Obviously, we knew the path. I don't know if Hoop would have taken the bet if the Ravens were in the NFC. Now, I will say, Nick Mars, I remember you were giving me shit too. Eye test wise, you need some glasses. Hey, I do think the Ravens A should have won that game. B still think they're the best team, but it's really close. Bills, Chiefs, Ravens. That's why 2 weeks in a row we are blessed with Super Bowl, the best 3 teams I believe playing, which is so awesome. 2 things for Hoop. I wasn't able to watch much of Lions game. I was at the fights, but so Dan Campbell, are you bailing on him a little bit? It's like the Montgomery stuff. At the end of the day, that stems from Campbell, and I mean just regular season wise, it was always so obvious. Gibbs and Montgomery are night and day. But yeah, touch on that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, it's I do have some concerns. I like him as a coach for sure, but I read an article I read a comment. I don't read articles. I usually just read the main topics and then get the hell out of there. I don't like reading all that much, but it was a pretty good point. And I read the first couple sentences of an article, and it made sense. But his loyalty, I think, is going to hurt him down the stretch here with the Lions. I mean, you see it. He's very loyal. Montgomery injured for 4 or 5 weeks. He comes back right to the same role. Like he can't have that. He probably didn't want to hurt his feelings because he wanted, and I knew that was a concern last week for sure. We talked about it on this show. And now you're seeing it with these coordinators as Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn as they leave. He's promoting within. He's staying very loyal to his people. And that's great probably for camaraderie and the environment that they're working with. But this is the NFL, man. And when something's not working or you need to make changes, loyalty has to go out the window. He's going to be loyal to Goff. He's going to be loyal to all these people in the organization. He was loyal to David Montgomery, obviously, last week. And I think his loyalty is really gonna hurt him, honestly, and the Lions moving forward. So I still like him as a head coach, but I have some big time concerns moving forward.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I got nothing else.
Let's move it along. We'll go to the grand scheme overview. Title. I'm going to kick it back to you. Now that we talked last week, let's talk this week. 2, we talked about, premier matchups here. I think Jaden Daniels, very special. Him going up against Hurts. Hurts a little banged up. Talk about that. And then obviously the big time game later on tonight that everyone is most excited for, but then how it applies to the slate and shapes it up. I think everybody just assumed shootout late, Barkley in the defense in the first game, boom, you win all the money. Well, how often does that actually work out? We'll see. But go ahead, Title. I'll let you give your grand scheme overview for the 2 games at hand today.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple points from the start that are really applicable. So first of all, salary is very, very soft, especially on DraftKings. Like no reason Saquon should be 8-6. He should be 10K plus. So immediately, and you talked about you're treating this as a showdown. We talk about it a lot. These 2-game slates are a lot more showdown-ish than they are main slates, which means leaving money, 2K on the table in the Millie Maker with 140,000, most definitely in play. And AJ Brown to Devontae Smith, little things like that, very much so what I'll be looking to do. Because it's a showdown, it's a game theory, it's a chop slate at the end of the day. Second point, you kind of just mentioned it. The second game looks to be getting way more ownership than the first game. A lot of people worried about Jalen Hurts' legs. AJ Brown been reading a book on the sideline, non-existent. Devontae Smith, all this stuff. The highest receiving prop on the slate, Travis Kelce at 70.5 yards, which is very interesting. Which the third point, which Hoop touched on in the beginning, like running back, very concentrated. All 4 quarterbacks are in play and will get ownership, which you definitely like on a slate like this. So it spreads out stuff a little more. But the receiver room is really, really gross. Nobody priced above 7K. But then also, like, we've seen Curtis Samuel in the first game against Denver go up and get you 17 or 18. Matt Collins had a really close shot last week of 35-yard touchdown, which would have scored well. The reason I'm saying all this, like, I have no receiver projected over 16. Any of these guys really catch a touchdown, like, they easily could be on the winner. Like, receiver room is so gross. AJ Brown has shown a very low floor to start. Like, Shakir might even feel, or Terry McLaurin feel like the safest. Not a great matchup for Terry McLaurin. All of Shakir's passes are like within 3 yards, it seems. So the receiving room just looks, the range of outcomes on all these guys is so wide. I think that's where you get different. A lot of that will be like the showdown stuff, the Matt Collins, the Curtis Samuels, Amari Coopers, Zacchaeus. I will be playing them more so when I am playing their quarterback, but like it's hard to get different at running back. Like making a case against Saquon, I'm curious to hear your guys' takes. Tight ends, pretty solid. People will play some 2 tight end like always, though. Kelce, again, only 6K, the highest receiving prop on the slate. Defense, I hope you guys have a strong take. That's usually not the case, but quarterback defense at least will be spread out to an extent. The onesie positions, where I do at least on a 2-game slate, ownership should be spread out a little more, even though running back is so concentrated. But we got to nail receiver today.
Yeah, Hoop, what's your thoughts? Give us your GSO, man. What do you got for this slate?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway for sure is wide receiver and what you do at wide receiver today. And it's like almost a slate to me where you can almost throw out the prices at wide receiver and just play guys. And I think that's the only way to maybe get a little bit different. Like get your stability at quarterback and running back and tight end. We know those guys. And then just, I don't know if there's a way to do it. I mean, obviously it would take some work, but don't factor in salary at all. And like 10 fantasy points could be a winning score at wide receiver today. I mean, we've seen it with the Bills all season. All their guys have very low floors. I mean, Mahomes or Allen is, he has Shakir as his main guy for sure, but it's all short little dump off stuff, and he's going to get there via PPR. But they're mixing in all those other dudes: Coleman, Curtis Samuels, Matt Collins, Amari Cooper. So there's no security there. Obviously, something's going on with Jalen Hurts. So like AJ Brown, very low floor. Devonta Smith, very low floor. It's crazy. I mean, this might be like the craziest part of the entire slate, that the most stable wide receivers on this slate are probably on the Commanders, Terry McLaurin and De'Ami Brown. I mean, De'Ami Brown is a legit wide receiver too right now, the workload, and I mean, he's looking to him. We saw it a few weeks ago and took advantage of it. He was on the team where I won $100,000. I had De'Ami Brown on there. I mean, he started going to him at the end of the season last year and just or at the end of the regular season, and it's continued into the playoffs. Like, he is their clear number 2. So it's wild to think that those are probably the 2 most stable guys. People are going to like the Chiefs guys too because of the price tag, and I actually like the Chiefs. If you think the Bills can push it a little bit offensively, you have to like these Chiefs guys at their current price tag, but everyone's gonna because of the prices and how hard the position is. But I guess for me, the main grand scheme overview for sure is probably what you do at quarterback, because I think there's some decisions there in terms of ownership, and we'll get into that. It's going to be the first position. And then wide receiver, like the running back stuff, people are in there. I think I'm going to fade Saquon like if you want to do that, I mean, for me personally, just take whatever money you're playing and just go buy lotto tickets or flush it down the toilet. I think that's a huge mistake. You're playing for an injury, I think, if you're fading Saquon today.
He did it. Yes. Okay. We did this show last year, and I pulled the receipts last night in Discord because it was the same dude. Jill came down with 250, and last year it was CMC in this spot, priced poorly. And your exact statement was, I'm locking him, and if you fade him, you're just banking on an injury. He went 90 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 4 catches, 42 yards, almost 30 DraftKings fantasy points, and that was your exact take. So we pulled the receipts in Discord last night, and you said it for Saquon. I think it's the exact same thing. 8,600 is insane.
It is. Yeah, you're playing for an injury. You're hoping. I mean, not hoping. I mean, I don't think anyone, even if they have a financial interest in it, would hope for a guy like him to get injured. But you're playing for him to get hurt in the first half, because he could have 20 at halftime potentially. So you're literally playing for a first quarter injury or early second quarter injury.
Let's buzz in our prop guy real quick here. We got a prop guy on the show named Title. What do you got for the props over there for Barkley today? Let them know.
126.5 rushing yards.
Juice is probably on the over.
Huh?
Yes,
Juice is probably on the over.
Minus 111 apiece.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, what's his rushing receiving? 145.5, so another 20 plus there. I mean, it's just insane. He opened, I don't know if he opened 135, I believe is what I saw, but he was the most in divisional championship history, which, I mean, rightfully so. Jalen Hurts beat up a little bit. They'll give Saquon the ball 30 times today if they need to. So,
and the other thing around that fade, it's like, okay, let's say we're not playing for the injury and you think he just has a bad game today, right? What's his bad game? What's his realistic floor on this slate? Is it like I
said in the Discord, 12 will win this slate sometimes. Like him being he'll be optimal at 12.
So if you think it's 12, let's say you think it's 12 or 13, that still could be the win. Look at these other dudes. That could be the winning score at running back. So it's very hard.
It's his competition. The competition is what you're saying. Like James Cook, Austin Eckler, Kareem Hunt, Brian Robinson, 100%. And you're allowed to play 3 running backs. So if someone says, "Oh, I think Cook and Robinson are going to dust him," okay, but he could still end up in the 3rd spot with an 18, and they have 20 plus. So it's tougher for sure.
Yeah, and it's another good point. We'll get into it more as the show goes on. But if you're hand building teams and you are fading him, make sure you're leveraging that fade so it pays off. Like if you're going to fade him, don't fade him on a Josh Allen team or something like that. Fade him on a Jalen Hurts to a pass catcher, Jalen Hurts to Devonta, Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown or Goddard or something like that. If you're fading him, build the teams properly.
What about Gainwell? Would you fade him? Would you just play Gainwell saying he gets hurt, or you'd rather say like he has a floor game at 11? Some of these other guys outscore, you get the Hurts leverage.
For me personally, I would be fine doing that. Like if I'm fading him, I'm thinking that I'm playing for an injury, right? And like it would definitely be Gainwell that steps in. So that is a very good point. So, but if you're fading him for a floor game, I'd say make sure you're playing those other dudes. But if you're fading him for an injury, I'd be fine, subbing Gainwell in there.
2 things. One, that is Hurts or Gainwell or both. And the other thing is like just not fading him. You're allowed to play Barkley and Hurts together. I think everyone automatically assumes, the best way to get leverage, I got to move off Barkley and go to these double stacks. Like Title said, the man's on the sideline reading a book. Like we don't even know what's going to happen if that's going to work out for you. It could just be Hurts. Maybe his leg is okay, and he does tush push in a couple of them, and then something else. But they were moving him out of the tush push late last week's game. They were in that shotgun setup and form. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But it's, again, you just are building accordingly. We're going to go to quarterback and do it. But Hoop, I had one quick question on the grand scheme overview, because you've done a good job talking about this the entire season with these Chiefs games. And I'm telling you, you can go build the lineups right now. And we'll get to the Mahomes thing in a second, because people still can't seem to grasp whenever Mahomes actually exists. But just to say it, these Chiefs have been very happy just to keep the ball on the ground, ugly type game. Do you have any thoughts around how the Chiefs' game plan looks tonight based on how mobile and good Josh Allen has been? And then just the matchup at home, everything they can sort of do in their favor. It seems it would be best to try and run that clock and keep that game low and just going with it, right?
Yeah, the main point is, I mean, they have nothing to prove offensively. We know how good Mahomes is. We know how good the connection to Travis Kelce is. Like, we know how good he is. They don't need to come out here and prove it by scoring like 30 some real life points. Now, if they could win this game in a nasty fashion, like they've won basically every game all season, like every game all season, the Chiefs have won. It's been for the most part, ugly, grinded out type games. If they can do that today, 100% they will do that. Now it's just a matter if they're able to do that. And I don't think they're going to be able to do that today. I think Josh Allen shows up. He's a dynamic player. I think he pushes the pace a little bit. So if you think the Bills can push the pace a little bit, I think the Chiefs offense is in a phenomenal spot to succeed today. So for me personally, like, yes, if they can establish that, they will, but man, someone in the chat posted Pacheco has not been the same since he's returned from injury. Yeah. It's, you know, and you got Kareem Hunt. I mean, it's not the same. We're going to grind it out with our running back type situation here either. So for me, I personally don't think it's going to be available for them today. If they can do it, they will, but I just don't think it's going to be available today.
The clock does run a bit. They almost go Cincinnati Bengals-esque of like the short runs and the short throws over. That's where Kelce picks it up in the playoffs. When you see the game clock running quickly, it's just like you said, it's going to come down to this. I love Ross's one earlier. Lamar can't beat Josh. Josh can't beat Mahomes. And the NFC as a conference can't beat Mahomes. And that's kind of the way we've seen it. And there is something just to be said about that with the Josh Allen stuff today. But obviously this year feels different. It seems different. So hopefully they can make it happen, push the pace, and we can get a little something out of that game. But let's get to the quarterback. Go ahead.
Real quick, just one more comment. Just imagine if we get any of these Chiefs-friendly calls today, people might riot, man. Like, if we get these today, like, people might show up to the NFL offices tomorrow because they are on edge about these calls.
Did you see the ruling they came out with yesterday? Like the one that got, it's like basically the Mahomes one where the two dudes ran into themselves. Yeah. Mahomes slipped them and got the call. Like, that'll be on patrol next. Even Schefter was like, for those of you that think Mahomes gets all the calls, he may get less starting next year, but maybe that's what they're on patrol for today, is not giving them the calls for once. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, people will lose their shit today if we get any Mahomes-friendly flags. Like, it will go down. People are going to be very fired up.
I hope. We'll see. I'm putting the Tambo teaser on the line today too. 7-0, still
7-0, baby. Let's go. I cannot wait to tail.
Yeah, you texted me last week. Hoop is tailing, man. He's putting the bets.
I got the receipts. I'm gonna have to post the receipts when it comes through.
You might have more on those than some people have on a whole season of golf bets on your.
I can guarantee. I can guarantee that. That's the truest thing you've said so far on the show.
I like it. All right, Title, what are we thinking here at quarterback, man? You start us off. The chat's dying for these quarterback takes. Let's get to them.
I mean, yeah, rightfully so. It's quarterback's very tough on this slate. I'm playing MME mainly. I will be playing all four quarterbacks. The least appealing one, just in my mind right away, just assuming all ownerships equal, etc., is Jalen Hurts with the injury. But I do think people will be worried about that a little bit. He's priced $500 more than Mahomes. I think Mahomes will be more popular. Daniels $500 more there. I think Daniels will be more popular. We're showing Josh as the least owned on the slate. I'm curious to hear if you guys think that stays true as well. And I could totally see it at 7.5K, but it does feel like if one of these guys is getting you 30, I guess obviously all of them can do it, but it feels like it would be Josh or Daniels the most. It's minus 120 for Hurts to score, and I do believe with that week that they will. I mean, it's a monster game. You're playing to get to the Super Bowl. I do think the tush push is live in a game like this. 2 touchdowns on the ground can definitely change the slate that way. I know I like Daniels a lot because even in any game script, Jaden Daniels can get there. They're 6-point dogs. If Saquon and the Eagles jump out early, and I do think the Eagles will stuff Brian Robinson mainly, stuff like that. When we get to game theory-wise at running back, it's a reason to play him with his ownership, but I think it's going to be on Daniel's shoulder a lot, and he has tons of upside. So Daniel's my favorites. I'm going to have a lot of Mahomes because I do think they try and run the ball early, but I do think Buffalo takes it away and makes Mahomes drop back a ton. And you also do have a lot of, which is appealing for Josh too, and I get there, a lot of weapons to play with them. Everyone's going to go Worthy, the Kelce of the world, but Hollywood Brown mixes in. D-Hop, it's gross, but that's like a showdown play right there. Noah Gray at tight end. Juju's getting some. Again, all of that is gross, but I guess I want you guys to talk about Jalen Hurts is my least favorite. I do know that. The concentrated target share, tree. Like it's Devontae Smith, it's Goddard, it's AJ Brown. You can play him with Saquon, but I don't love overstacking the Eagles by any means. Josh Allen's expensive, and it's really hard to get who with him, right? Matt Collins, Curtis Samuel, Amari Cooper. Obviously, Shakir's the easy one. Kincaid, Knox. All of that makes me have more interest in him, though, on a really big 140,000 people contest and you can play him just with one guy. If Josh runs in 2-3 touchdowns, etc. So he is the 7.5K. I know Daniel's my favorite, and then I'm thinking Mahomes, Allen, Hurts. But if Josh Allen is the lowest owned quarterback on a 2-game slate, man, with his rushing upside, and I mean, he's going to have to be Superman, I think, to win this game. Like I'm worried about the Chiefs and Spags' defense. They're very, very much respected. I do think the Chiefs try and take the air out of the ball, but he's the lowest owned quarterback, and his pass catchers are really pretty low owned as well on this slate. So I'm throwing it back to you, Tambo. Do you think he's the lowest owned? And if so, I'm definitely going to bump more Josh Allen. He might be my second favorite then.
We're getting good at this. It's almost like we've done it all season. We're doing perfect. Your segue was right where I was going, and it came at the perfect time. So I love what you said there. I do think his ownership does come up. I think one of the challenges, though, in the trickies, and it does correlate with everything you just said, and it's the reason you're seeing him a little lower than you would expect, is people don't know who to put him with, or they feel like they're going to make a mistake just by trying to figure it out. Because as many guys as we always mention for Mahomes, and I've talked about this all season with Josh Allen, they can bring 7-8 pass catchers into the mix. I think that's where it gets fun, though, for the large field stuff. And that's where the money gets left on the table. Yes, it's easy to play Kincaid. We'll get to tight end later, but you could just play Knox and leave $1,000 in the same spot. You could try Keon Coleman. I'm telling you, this guy is always open because Allen scrambles. The route is done. He could be on a third route if he wanted to be, but he's just standing there. I know our boy Hebrew Cheetah, Rio the man, said he's getting in on some Cooper action. The books don't even I look today, you can't even get 100-yard like an alt prop, at least on my book, on a Cooper. There's like no way he can even get out 60 yards on the book. So Cooper's interesting, but it's really hard for people to make a stack and love it. And I think that's where, even like you said, you're not as high on the Hurt stuff, but I think people want that A, potential leverage on Saquon, or B, they're fine with playing him with Saquon and they feel good about who the other options are. Like it's AJ Brown, it's Smith, it's Goddard. Don't have to figure the rest out. And that's kind of how the Mahomes stuff sets up. But I think he's trickier than you know as well. One thing I want to say too, Hoop, I'll kick it to you, but Mahomes, the Chiefs elevated Justin Ross. We've been waiting for this guy forever. I don't know why and what that means. Maybe nothing. They have so many other dudes that they could use. But Justin Ross getting elevated, and all the diehards love this guy. They're all getting excited. I couldn't find a prop on him either, but thought that was interesting. What's your thoughts at the quarterback position, Hoop?
Yeah, I think that is probably, they anticipate they might have to throw the ball a little bit more today. That would be my guess as to why they elevated him. But I'm going to add on to the Allen conversation because I think it's by far the most important talking piece of the quarterback conversation. And I'm going to add on to what you guys said because I do agree with you. Like, people are going to look at Allen and say, okay, who do I want to pair him with? It's, difficult. I do think that plays into it a little bit in terms of his ownership being so low. But I think the bigger reason why we're seeing lower ownership, and I feel very confident in this, you go to running back, people want to play Saquon Barkley. And the price is low. Don't get me wrong. The price is very low, but he's the most expensive running back at $8,600, right? Like he's up there. You do have to sacrifice a little bit if you're playing him. And I think the sacrifice is taking place at quarterback, which we're going to talk about here in a second. You go to tight end. Who's the main tight end that everyone wants to play? Well, it's Travis Kelce because he's, playoff Travis. He's going off and he is the most expensive. So a lot of teams are starting with Saquon Barkley and Travis Kelce. And again, they're both underpriced, but you do have to sacrifice a little bit, and people don't really care who they're playing at wide receiver. So the sacrifice is taking place at quarterback, and I think that's a massive, massive mistake. I hope these numbers remain true, and everyone kind of has it, upper teens or low 20s on Josh Allen, very low 20s. I think it does hold true. If you run an optimizer dry like you just did, we're getting a very low number, a very low percentage on Josh Allen at quarterback. So, to me, that's the most important part of this position, what you do with Josh Allen. And I will be way overweight, whatever that number is. I just think if there's anyone that can just absolutely break this slate, it's him. They know the only way to have a chance at this game is to keep the ball in his hands and let him do his thing today. So Josh Allen at maybe the lowest owned, being the lowest owned quarterback, I think is criminal on the slate. And I want as much as I can get for sure. On the other side, I'll just stick with that game. Mahomes at 6K. Again, it's a very good price tag. He's the cheapest quarterback. The nice thing about him is we saw it a little bit last week, and we see it with all these quarterbacks. We talked about it where they're just willing, even the running quarterbacks are willing to run a little bit more. And the one thing that makes me really like Mahomes today, 7 attempts last week, 7 rush attempts for Mahomes. And that is much higher than he had been running all regular season. So really like Mahomes. Jaden Daniels, I think, is the real deal. I mean, Title kind of touched on it a little bit. I mean, I think the dude is phenomenal. It's a tough matchup, but I think he can definitely get the job done. Then the big conversation, I think that the number one most important thing at quarterback is what you do with Josh Allen. The second most important thing is what you do with Jalen Hurts. And I think you have to make a stand one way or the other. And I'm personally considering just fading him. I love doing this on these smaller slates, just fading one of the quarterbacks. Even if he is, let's say he ends up being the lowest owned, that number's still going to be around 20%. So if I don't think it's Jalen Hurts and I just fade him, I'm beating 20% of lineups right out of the gate. So he's a guy I'm considering fading today or playing at a very low percentage. I think there are real injury concerns. They said he's wearing a knee brace today. Like, I don't think you wear a knee brace unless you're somewhat injured or there's some concern for an injury. The tush push stuff does scare me a little bit. You play him because you want them essentially to get stopped inside the 2 and then tush push for a touchdown, which I think could still happen. Even if he is a little dinged up, I think they could still use him. But I do think there is a chance that they don't and they go to Saquon and use Saquon a little bit more. So Jalen Hurts is the one, and he's looked really bad passing. I mean, the passing numbers the last few weeks have been absolutely atrocious. I mean, he was he threw for 128 yards last week. Green Bay threw for 131 yards. It's been very, very bad. AJ Brown's all pissed off, obviously reading books on the sideline and shit. So considering fading him or taking a underweight stance if I need to. If I build my teams and it still wants some Hurts to make everything else work, I'd be fine doing it, but I would also be fine potentially fading him. But really like the Josh Allen stuff today, and I really hope that number remains true, and I have a feeling it is. I have a feeling it is going to remain too low in my eyes. Like, to me, Josh Allen should clearly be the highest owned quarterback on the slate, not in conversation be the lowest owned. So I'll be taking a big stance on Josh Allen today.
So I agree. And that part, I guess, in on some, out on the other. The one thing I'll say about that is that's what makes it really tough for me to get to Jaden Daniels. I literally have been talking about his talent this whole show, how much I like them, more on that later. But just to say it, when he's 7K and Allen's 7,500, I got a way easier time getting to Josh Allen in that spot and just trying to figure it out. I know there's some, everyone's posting in the chat some different ways to stack him. That's the fun part about Josh Allen. There's so many ways to get different. Knox versus Kincaid and leave money. Him with Knox, Cook, and the defense. I really do like the quarterbacks with their running backs today. I think that's part of it, Hoop, with the other thing about the Josh Allen lower potential ownership is because after Saquon, nobody likes to pick between Eckler or Robinson. Nobody wants to play Hunt or Pacheco. I'm saying nobody. We know they'll get some ownership, but James Cook is getting a ton of ownership also. What are his props? Title? We're going to running backs soon anyway, but what are the James Cook props right now?
Yeah, we have James Cook at 56.5, Josh Allen 50.5, Jaden Daniels 53.5 to compare.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it too, which is you may get your wish, Hoop. Like, I think he'll come up from where we have him, but I think he'll still stay in check and the other guys will get more. I like him more than Jaden Daniels for DFS today. So that's where I'm at. The Hurts stuff for me is easy. I think there's so many ways you can do it with Hurts. I love like a Hurts, Barkley, Goddard and stop trying to figure out with everyone's that does that is going to want to go to AJ Brown or Smith. I like playing Smith instead of AJ Brown and leaving the money. I like stacking up that game a little bit because you guys mentioned it earlier. I'm just more on the Hurts side, but I like the idea of Brown and McLaurin and those guys. So I think there is a potential that you could flip the build a little bit on the whole today, where everybody assumes Barkley and Philly D with as many of the Buffalo and Kansas City guys they can get. why not play a bunch of Philly, Washington guys? They've got some injuries on the O-lines, the D-lines, things like that. Maybe it goes back and forth. And what if Hurts is in shotgun more, and these are checkdowns to Barkley because you got to get it out quick, or these are checkdowns to Goddard across the field? There's a ton of different ways that game could be the one that gets exciting, goes back and forth. And the second game, everyone's just stuck because that's all they have left. There ain't no late swap. You can move around within that game. There is late swap within the game, but not for the slate. You're stuck on that game. And if the first game already went off, there is some clear-cut pieces. It's a little bit more, if you think of the example, it's definitely more clear-cut on where those teams go versus trying to figure out which of the 20 possible receivers Allen and Mahomes combined are going to be throwing to. So makes it good for DFS, but that's my takes at the quarterback. The last one is the never Mahomes thing. People get that stuck in their head. Never Mahomes is on classic slates. If you are playing short slates or showdown, that's oftentimes where he comes through because a lot of his guys doing their job. Like if Kelsey gets 2 touchdowns today, that's going to be very good for Mahomes. Like Hoop said, he runs a little bit more, things like that. He's 6K. Like that's really what it comes down to. So, Mahomes is fine on this slate. Let's go to running back. We already had the Barkley conversation. Hoop, I'll stick with you here. Barkley, you talked a little bit about Cook, but there's some Ty Johnson takes. There's some Gainwell if you want to leverage Barkley. And then I think the Washington stuff is pretty interesting also between Robinson Jr. and Eckler with their price being just $300 apart. And if they're down in that game, like many think, it could mean some Eckler. What's your thoughts at running back?
Yeah, so you have Saquon obviously underpriced, and he's going to be massively, massively owned. And I don't know. To me, it's either I don't know if you're playing him. I think you just might as well just play him on all your teams. I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. I just don't see why you mess around with it and say, oh, he's going to be 70% owned, so I'm going to play him on 40% of my lineups or something. I just either you're in or you're not. Just don't be kind of in. Be all the way in, I guess, is my take with him. After that, though, it's pretty wide open. I think a lot of people are going to feel comfortable just going to Eckler and saving some money at 5,300. Obviously, if they're trailing, he has the path for a bigger workload. 4 catches last week, 6 carries, so 10 touches. A lot of people are just going to go to him. I think James Cook has a chance to go a little overlooked. I think he has a chance to come in lower owned than everyone's showing, just because I think a lot of people are just going to feel comfortable with double tight end teams, which is going to lower the overall ownership at running back. People, again, like I said, are going to want to save a little bit after Barkley and just go down to a guy like Eckler. So I think James Cook is kind of it's an uncomfortable price, really, 6,900. I mean, he's only 1,700 cheaper than Saquon Barkley. That's an absolute joke, and people are going to see that. So I don't know. I think he has a chance to get squeezed a little bit. So I'm definitely still interested in him. I mean, he's really, after Barkley, the only guy that has a chance for a big time workload on the slate. Yes, they've mixed in some of the other guys in Buffalo, but he's the only other guy that really has probably 20 touch upside today. So I think he's interesting. After that, I don't know. It's just, dart throws. I guess my next favorite might be Kareem Hunt, but man, I don't know. I don't really like Brian Robinson at all today. It's a really tough matchup for him. I do think Washington is probably playing from behind, so I do think it's probably more Eckler. And then the Pacheco stuff, man, he has not looked good at all since returning from injury. I mean, I remember the guy early on in the year in some key spots, he gets the ball and it's beast mode. You're not stopping me. I'm just running through your ass. I have not seen that from him at all since returning from injury. And obviously the Chiefs haven't either, because he's now splitting time with Kareem Hunt. The cheaper dudes like Ty Johnson, P. Ryan, Gainwell, Ray Davis type plays. Yeah, I mean, going to be low owned for sure. I mean, Ty Johnson, I think gets a little bit of ownership because he had that touchdown. I think it was last week. So I don't know. It's a tough position though. That's the main thing. It's a very, very tough position. But James Cook to me stands out as a guy that probably does get squeezed here a little bit.
Yeah, I think again, I like playing James Cook even with Josh Allen. I think that's another interesting way to sort of lock it up in there. It's one of those two, and it can be both. I think that's the other thing coming at him. He can check it down. And then it could be to Cook, and Cook just does his thing with it. And they keep trying to grab the hair. They have not been successful. One of these days, it's getting pulled on, but there's been some close calls these last few weeks. I've been watching it. And my wife was even like, they're allowed to do that? Oh, yeah. He said, he might be shaving his head next year if they grab him one time.
I think that's funny you said that, because I think every single football fan has probably had that conversation with their wife or significant other, because like that is my same thing. It's like, can they really pull their hair when they're
I think it's crazy, right? It's like you couldn't, like a horse tackle, no, but if you want to jam their hair, you can, but they want to leave it that way, then they're pull on it, go ahead. But he's had some close calls where he escaped it and got through. Real quick for Clay, appreciate you. Just want to let you know here, you go right here on the site under Shiptimizer, go down to tutorials. Anybody, member or not, can check these out. They're all free. You just click them up there. There's the NFL Shiptimizer and the Showdown. It tells you how to get the optimal lineup, how to use the group anchor, the presets that we have on there, everything and more. So check that out. We're always working on it. Apologize if it comes off confusing, but we'll see, right? We'll keep it rolling. Title, over to you. Any other takes beyond sort of like Hoop broke it down pretty well, but maybe some of these outliers, specifically the Robinson versus Eckler, the Pacheco versus Hunt, and then any thoughts on Ty Johnson and Ray Davis?
So I want to say quick on the Saquon stuff. If I am going to be playing 100% of them too, if I wasn't, I would be building in sets like you talk about, Tambo. Like I'd be fine absolutely leaving $0 with the non-Saquon team. I would be more inclined to play Hurts. I'd be more inclined to play Gainwell. I would definitely not play Gainwell with the Saquon. But again, like the teams I'm building with Saquon, I'm treating as he's going to small field stuff. You might be 90+% owned, like a ridiculous amount of ownership. Pretty much a free square for many. So then I have to get different in other spots. If you're fading him, you can build a lot chalkier team there. I'm going to be embracing just ownership-wise. If you're looking at the stone right now, Commanders, we have one running back project over 35% in Eckler. Saquon, 86. James Cook, 43. Chiefs situation, both of them below 25%. Is it fun? No. I think Kareem Hunt is dust at this point. Pacheco might be a little dust at this point. Well, they're very low owned for very fair price tags on the team that is implied for a lot of points. I'm going to be playing a lot of Kareem, or a lot. Relative to the field, I'm going to be overweight on Kareem Hunt and Pacheco. I'm going to group them away from each other. Right now, the field is thinking it's Kareem Hunt because that is what it has been recently. I'll have more Kareem Hunt, but I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in like almost double the ownership. Pacheco's still going to be on the field, I think, 35% of snaps-ish. If he falls in the box once, if he falls up in the box twice, it feels great. It leverages off a Kelsey chalk, meaning he's not at least getting in the box when they do. Mahomes was going to be very popular. So in non-Mahomes teams, I will definitely be overweight Chiefs stuff. And that's what stands out most because, I mean, James Cook has a real price tag. I'm more inclined, I want to say this too, I might have 0 3 running back builds on DraftKings. FanDuel is always different. I hate 3 running backs today. I think Eckler's over-owned. He makes a lot of sense when they're in trailing game scripts. Brian Robinson looks good for leverage that way. Like 6-point dogs, when they play from the lead, it is more Brian Robinson. But man, that rushing prop, 36.5 yards. He has somewhat of a real price tag. Eagles is not a easy team to run on. Again, it's all the I know ball stuff looking at it. Game theory-wise, he's going to be sub 20% as a starting running back. So I don't even know if even with all of that being said, I still think I like Eckler just because of how I expect the game to go and the Eagles to take away the run. But regardless, I'll be underweight the Washington backfield, underweight Cook. I'm locking Saquon. I'll be overweight the Chiefs stuff. And I don't know, man. I don't think I'm going to be playing the Ty Johnsons, the Ray Davis, that of the world. Not that they're going to get in and be fine, but you always talk about it, Tambo. I guess more so it's on classic slates like the Sean Tuckers of the world, 0.2%, the Scantlings, and they're still not on the winner. You still have to have the perfect combo when you do play those guys. But, I mean, they're going to be on the field. I prefer Ty Johnson for sure to Ray Davis. More pass-catching upside, explosiveness there.
Yeah.
But I still don't love it. I mean, I'm going to be playing Hunt and Pacheco more, who I know will be on the field. And, again, that feels gross. But running back is not good. I do not like 3 running back builds on DraftKings.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that too. That's the other. If you're going with it, just like a guy like Ty Johnson, I think you can actually commit to. Meaning, if you play him, you could say, okay, I'll take 10% or 15% and call it a day because that's going to be a way that I feel uncomfortable. But it gets me unique on this slate, and I can roll with that. So I like that call. If you're going with it, do it. I do want to address this real quick. We'll have the quick marketing minute. We're 50 minutes into the show. I haven't even talked about it yet, but just so you know, this is a key note. Good that you brought this up, Colin. So Discord does not come with weekly packages, but I should let you know you wouldn't pay $34 for a week right now just because football is kind of coming to an end. We do have the promo Ship 50, And this is important because you can still use this right now, and Ship 50 gets you $50 off your first month. That is the $99 plan. So you can take it down to $49. You're going to get all the NFL stuff through Super Bowl with Showdown and everything included. Check out all the tools. PGA is dialed in, another huge weekend in Showdown, everything on the main slate. MMA, none this week, but I know it comes back, I believe, 8 straight weeks starting next week. So you'll pick up 4 of those. NBA, the team with Hebrew Cheetah and the rest of the squad dialed in over there. Nade's got NHL dialed in. Shout out to our guy Shaloub. Came through. I think he won like $15K and then almost another big one the other night. And Daytona 500 fits within this package as well. So for $49, get the Discord, check everything else out on the site. That is most certainly the way to do it, my friend, and get in, join the nation. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hate to say don't sign up for something at our website as a business person, but right now you'd be foolish to sign up for the weekly. I'll tell you that much. Just sign up for the all access 99, which right now is $49, gets you through the Super Bowl, gets you a chance to test out all our stuff, including the optimizer. And, like we keep saying on these shows, and, something will be coming very soon, it's a good time to get in because we have some very, very big things on the horizon, and it will be within the next month. So you're in that window. If you sign up now for the monthly all access, within 30 days, something big will be happening.
And we don't take announcements about announcements lightly. Anyone who knows us knows that's true. We've come through on every single one of them. This is a big one, very big one. So my last take, I'm actually going to put a bonus bet out there. So get your pencils out.
Oh, let's go.
I got it. This is the first one. I got the Tambo teaser coming up, but 36.5 for Brian Robinson, over. That's happening. Their job is to keep the Eagles off the field. That number is just too low. I get it. The defense on paper, this is literally could be one play, one slip, anything. They're going to give him enough chances. I think he's got like a 10.5 attempt prop. So you're just telling me he's going to get nothing on any of them and just run into a wall on all of them. 36.5 is too low. I also think it's a little bit lazy in DFS just to auto rule out this Commanders team and say, well, since they're going to be down, we got to play Eckler for $300 less. I think Robinson's a good DFS play too, but I feel much better about the bet over 36.5, putting the 7-0 record on the line. This bid is getting out of control. People are actually going to think I'm some big sports bettor or something. It's really, we've been making fun of it all season, but still not missing on these picks. So
when you go 7-0 on the record publicly, I mean, you got some eyes on you now. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, shout out to my guy, could be Travis. Keep that tax-free, baby. Canada, that's my guy. He says 49 is pretty wild. It is, and we know that, but that's why we put it out there. And like Hoop said, we sell people a weekly. We'd be picking up way more cash. Have them pay that every week, but it's not what it's about. Let you check it all out. Make sure you see what the site offers. Get into the Discord. The best people, man. It's awesome. And they're up I was up 1 a.m. my time last night. I couldn't sleep. I'm in the Discord. We're going back and forth about what fading Barkley looks like and why that would be a good or bad idea. So it's around the clock when we say it for real. It definitely is. Let's move on. Let's go to wide receiver title. I'm going to kick it back to you. Worthy's up there getting a ton of ownership, right? He fits at 55, but you mentioned like Hollywood Brown hurt everybody last week. You got, D-Hop, who you mentioned, and then some other guys that you can go to as well. So wide receiver thoughts from you.
Yeah, always like going team by team. It makes it really easy. Philly side couldn't be more easy. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be playing some Hurts. People will be a little worried. Like, people will want more receivers and which almost all skill positions outside of Saquon in that second game. So while I don't think A.J. Brown or Smith will be low owned by any means, like Kelsey's going to be higher owned. Xavier Worthy's going to be higher owned. I think Scary Terry maybe comes in a little higher owned. I'm gonna be playing some A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. It's only those two though. I'll circle back at when I touch on all three. I'll do like team by team who's in the player pool, then circle back with like my favorites and underweight, etc. Washington side, Terry, Daimi Brown, Zacchaeus. The wide receiver 4 has been Jamison Crowder. Zacchaeus got banged up a little last game. Again, it's 150 stuff. If you're playing Daniels, fine. Like, you can build a lot chalkier teams, throw in a Jamison Crowder if he does anything. That's how you solo ship. But I won't have too much of it myself. Zacchaeus ownership sub 10% does stand out personally. Everyone wanted to play him game 1 against Tampa. Obviously, Daimi Brown has outsnapped him. He definitely has been wide receiver 2. Especially if you think they're trailing, though, they'll play plenty of 3 receiver sets. I will embrace Zacchaeus' ownership and price tag. And this is where it gets tough, the Buffalo KC side. KC, I guess, is a little easier. because when we get to tight end, Noah Gray is most definitely involved as well. So the 3 receivers I think I'm going to do, Worthy for sure, Hollywood Brown, by far the 2 that benefit the most. Then Juju and D-Hop kind of split snaps, or they have. I think I'm just going to go if I split the ownership, I think I'm just going to go D-Hop. And man, it is really just guesswork at the end of the day. Like, there's no reason for me to want to play D-Hop. His snaps have been awful. Let me get the exact numbers from you. 16 snaps last week. Juju had 21. The thing at the end of the day, I just think Juju's pretty cheeks, and D-Hop maybe can show up for one play. I still think he's got some left in the tank. The problem is it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the Chiefs think. And they're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets with Noah Gray, Kelsey, Worthy, and Hollywood Brown. So I don't love the secondary pieces for the Chiefs, but when I'm playing Mahomes, D-Hop will be one way to get different. If you want to do Juju too, think it's fine. It's not my favorite. I do love Worthy, though. Like, if the Chiefs want to win this game, they're going to have to get Worthy the ball in a lot of ways. He's going to have ownership, but I'm fine going from any of Brown, Terry McLaurin, et cetera. James Cook in the flex, drop that to Worthy and leave it. Last side with the Bills, and I left it last because, outside of Shakir, they're just rotating everything in this offense. So we had 40, or not even, Shakir didn't even outsnap as much as I thought. 67% Shakir, 66 Coleman, 52% Matt Collins, 34% Amari Cooper, 31% Curtis Samuel. And that circles all the way back to the Josh Allen stuff. There's a billion ways to play him with his rushing upside. His receivers will be very low owned. I think I'm going to play all of them just because I am playing a good amount of Josh Allen, and a lot of them will be like 3% owned or less. I think with the field, Shakir is going to be very popular. I think he might be one of my least relative to the field. Like, I prefer Worthy, prefer Devontae Smith, I prefer Brown. I just think they have more like one play, 50-yard touchdown upside to break a slate where a lot of Shakirs are so short. I think I'm going to ride with you with Keon Coleman as the second favorite, though. He's always open. You've been touting him a little bit. Matt Collins is going to be my third favorite. He's on the field the most out of all of them. He is more of a blocker, but they just missed him last week, too, down the sideline. Like, he's a big body that can fall in the box at some point if Josh Allen needs to throw it up. So I'm going to go Coleman and then Mac. I don't know. I'll ride Hebrew Cheetah and Amari Cooper. I still think he's got some legs with him as well, but all of this is really gross. Like, I think Josh Allen's going to use his legs a good amount. Some ADOS stuff to Shakir. And again, Kincaid and Dawson Knox, they're going to run 2 tight end sets plenty themselves, which is why all these guys rotating in, it's really tough, but embrace the variance, embrace the ownership. If any of them do get there, there's a lot less chance that there's going to be a chop at the end of the day. So to round out the whole wide receiver room, I think I'm going to be more under Terry and get into Deanie Brown and Zacchaeus of the world. I do like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith a good bit. I like Worthy and Hollywood a ton for their price. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they lead the receiving room in points on the slate at less price than all these other guys. And then I'm going to embrace some of this Buffalo stuff at the end of the day. So I'm curious on hear your takes, though. Receiving room, obviously, we talked about from the beginning. By far the hardest.
Another one of those good segues, though, because you said I'm going to embrace the Buffalo. So I was just about to say the nice part about the second game is that's where, again, someone said it earlier, and it's kind of true. And there is a potential that this slate, the Millie Maker, like the $25, just gets chopped 150 ways. It's definitely possible with the pricing. If you just go look, if everybody builds the same lineup, which you all have some variation of it, if you're looking at snap counts and who's out there and what fits and what correlates and makes sense, you'll land on a pretty similar lineup. And if that happens, big time chop. But the nice part about the second game is where you can get tricky with it, and nobody really knows. Like, everyone's going to have their own take on why Keon Coleman's a horrible mention. Everyone's going to say Cooper's dust and it's washed up until he's not. Like, it always is going to be that way. Nobody knows. But what we do know is a lot of people are going to have similar builds, and this is the game where you can get different with it. And realistically, when Josh Allen, who scrambles as much as he does, he can just all of a sudden see a guy, and that's the guy that gets it. You talked about Matt Collins falling in the box. Could be Cooper. They did hit Cooper. They tried to hit Cooper on a big one last week too. I think it was down the right sideline, and I think he dropped it, or he didn't actually. It wasn't a catch or something. But yeah, it's like it wasn't that they even wanted him. It's whoever's open when the time Josh Allen gets done scrambling all around. So Hoop, I'll kick it to you, man. Anything extra to add here at wide receiver?
Yeah, I think I do like that last point though with like Josh Allen. Like once he gets out of the pocket, it could be anyone that that's on the field. And man, the one that I guess I'll just start here because the one that stands out to me, he's always on the field. And you guys said he just missed him last week, was Mac Hollins, man. He's always out there, 3,300. He's going to be like low owned. Like if you're playing a lot of Josh Allen, you got to embrace some of these guys. And, Mac Hollins, you guys talked about Keon Coleman, I think is a solid option. Samuel, Amari Cooper, and then just all ties back to the initial conversation where one play at wide receiver today could be enough to be on optimal 10, 11, 12 fantasy points. That could definitely be enough today. And that's the plays that we're talking about. The Matt Collins miss, that's a 10 fantasy point play. The Amari Cooper miss, or not necessarily miss, but like non-connection. That's a 10 fantasy point play. So if you're going overweight on Josh Allen, I think you need to embrace all these guys, and I'm going to be overweight on Josh Allen, so I will be embracing them. But I do like Shakir as well, man. Like there is, in terms of just like PPR on the slate, a guy that is going to be targeted and he converts, makes the most of all his targets. Like Shakir, man, I really, really like him. If he does get a touchdown, you can probably say this about anyone, so it's nothing special. But if he does score a touchdown, find it hard to believe that he's not on the optimal. And again, you could say that probably about every wide receiver today, so it's probably pretty irrelevant to say that. But he can also, I think, be on optimal without finding a touchdown, where if he goes like 6 for 70, which I think is definitely realistic if we see some scoring. So I like all these Buffalo guys. On the KC side, I agree with Title on Worthy. I think it's a worthy day. I think the game sets up for him. If you think Buffalo can score today, which I do, they design plays all over the field for Worthy, like getting him short passes. They'll take deep shots with him. They'll get him in the end around stuff. Like he has so many ways to be there today. And I get the ownership's following, but the ownership's following any relevant wide receiver today because it's tough. Like Terry McLaurin, Devonta Smith, Shakir, AJ Brown, they're all going to have probably 40% and above. So you just got to pick your guys and roll with them. So it's really hard to factor in ownership today at this position because all the names on the slate are going to get some ownership because, well, it's only 2 games and the position's pretty difficult. So I do like the Worthy stuff. Hollywood Brown, and he's going to show up in a lot of lineups. If you just say, I don't know, do you have that up there?
It's right here, yeah.
Yeah. I'm guessing, where is he at? So he's not showing up much for us then, huh?
Oh, he is. Yeah, we got him.
I didn't see him. I was looking for Hollywood, not Marquis. So yeah, he's going to show up on a lot just because of the price tag. Title touched on this, and I agree. Like something just tells me like it could be DeAndre Hopkins day, and what does it take to be a DeAndre Hopkins day? Probably not much. 4 for 50 and a touchdown. Like that's going to be good enough today. I definitely think that's in the realm of possibilities. I just think this Chiefs offense today has a chance to look different than it's looked all season long. Like all season long, I think this offense could look much, much different. And Worthy's going to get ownership. Hollywood Brown, Kelsey, they're all going to get ownership. I just think it's right, man. I just think it's right. I think the Chiefs are going to have to do things differently today than they've done all season long. So for me, someone like DeAndre Hopkins definitely comes in. He's done nothing. He's done nothing, but I just think he comes into the conversation a little bit more today. So obviously being higher on this game with the pass catchers means I'm probably going to be a little lighter in that first game, and I'm fine with that. Like AJ Brown, despite doing nothing at all recently, is going to get ownership. Devonta Smith, same thing. He's going to get ownership today. Can't play everyone. Like I'll be probably underweight on both those guys. And that's probably going to be my stand on the slate, I guess, at this position. I'll be lighter on those guys. Hope it's not the Hurts to AJ Brown to Devonta Smith, and hope that it's just all Saquon for the Eagles. That's kind of going to be my play, and obviously that's how it correlates to wide receiver. I'm going to play them, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, but it's not going to be anywhere near what the field's playing them at. Terry McLaurin, probably right around the field. And then I got to keep riding my guy, De'Ami Brown. I think we've been ahead of the curve on De'Ami Brown, I'd say. We were playing him at the end of the regular season, and the results have been good. The targets are there. They're just going. He's their number 2 right now. And then Zacchaeus is a little dinged up. You look at Brown, 5-4, 5-4, 5-8 targets. Like they're looking to him, and he's developing a good connection with Jaden Daniels. So I really like Brown today. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But I guess, the one thing I'm definitely be much higher on the second game. The field probably is too, but where I take my stands is going to be with like AJ Brown and probably Devonta Smith being underweight on those guys.
Yeah, a lot of what I'm going to be doing, so I'll just add a couple points to it because you guys covered it well, but is like, like I said, just if you get an AJ Brown lineup, turn it on, turn them off and plug in Smith. Get a Terry McLaurin lineup, leave all the money right down to Brown for 4,400. I don't care. Like the salary really means nothing to me in that spot.
And that's the main point just I wanted to touch on because I think it's a very good a good talking point that we kind of touched on but didn't really elaborate on. Just shut off in your head the prices at wide receiver. Right. I think that's like the main thing. Like, just don't even look at the prices. And I think that's the way you can get unique or less duped at the position. Just don't even think price tag at wide receiver. Just play the guys. Don't look at what you have left and just roll with it, because really all these guys have a very, very low floor. I mean, they all could just replay. Like, you use the McLaurin, De'Ami Brown. McLaurin could get 5 and De'Ami Brown get 15. The salary just doesn't matter at that point. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that point that we talked about. I think it's important.
Yeah, and two others that stood out for the same type of thing, and you could take them down from their level at wide receiver or even compare it. I think the most interesting one to me is we're about to get to tight end, and Kincaid is going to come up after Kelsey. Everyone, you play double tight end in that game, even you're going to see it a lot. Well, Keon Coleman is $100. I think he's $100 or $200 more than, what is Kincaid? 3,600? Yeah, 36. Yep. So 3,700 for Keon Coleman, 3,500 for Curtis Samuel. I think both those plays are awesome because one of them is easily a spot where they could come through and get a different roster from there. Or if you're landing in the flex in that final game and Kelsey's more expensive. So you've got Kelsey in the tight end now, and instead of Kincaid in the flex, you've got flipped around. So you have one of those wide receivers in the flex. I'm fine with that. And then Jamison Crowder was another guy that I saw pop up earlier that got mentioned. We don't have like any of him showing up here, but I could definitely see them taking some short passes and stuff going over to that way as well. So not much else to add at this position. I think it's going to be like what you guys said, and then just moving it around from there within your stacks, being willing to leave money, but love those points that you guys brought up. Let's get to tight end here, Hoop, and I'll let you take it. We know about Kelsey, but Zach Ertz, Kincaid, and then I think a lot of people are starting to like the Dawson Knox play in behind Kincaid because he's out there as well.
Yeah, I think Knox can be, tossed in that same category as the Buffalo wide receivers, the Keon Colemans, Mac Hollins, Curtis Samuel, Amari Coopers, where, man, anyone on the field with Josh Allen has a chance to catch a touchdown today, and one touchdown is probably all it takes at these positions, wide receiver and tight end. He's 2,600, makes a lot work, and Dalton Kincaid is going to be pretty popular because of the price tag. Dalton Kincaid is not going to be popular because of the output. And what he's done recently is because he's 3,600, and it's kind of like, oh man, I haven't seen that price that low in a while. So good with Knox. Obviously, I'm fine with Kincaid. One thing I personally found when building teams, Kincaid was showing up at a very high rate because of the savings. So that's one thing to definitely keep an eye on. We're getting what are we getting? 27%. So when I built, it was even higher, probably because playing more Josh Allen and needed the savings. But I like Goddard. So like I obviously I'm going to be a little lighter on the passing stuff for the Eagles. So one way to offset the AJ Brown and Devonta Smith stuff would be with a guy like Dallas Goedert. So I do like Goddard quite a bit. Ertz has definitely emerged as another solid target for Jaden Daniels. I think he's fine. And then Noah Gray as well. And then Kelsey, obviously. I mean, Kelsey's going to be the highest owned. I mean, it's playoff Travis Kelsey. I mean, it's where Mahomes is looking. And, he's the one guy that actually benefits from an inefficient running game. Like, they use him as those little passes, quick outs, and then he just moves up, and it seems like he gets always at least like 5 or 6 yards on those plays, assuming it's not like blowing up or anything. So Kelsey's a very strong play. So it's a strong position, but the one thing you can definitely say for sure is if you just go in there and build teams, you're going to get a lot of double tight end. You're going to get a ton of double tight end because of the price tags. But again, it seems like all these short, smaller slates, tight end's been the strongest overall position. And I'd say that's definitely the case again today. I mean, you have 4 solid tight ends. Well, I guess not solid, but you have 4 very playable tight ends. And then two of these backup guys are even playable as well, in Noah Gray and Dawson Knox. So you're going to get a lot of double tight end, and it's really hard to get away from it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's going to be very hard. So like one way to potentially get like a little bit different is if you're playing like a Kelsey Kincaid team, still play Kelsey, but maybe pivot that Kincaid to like Keon Coleman or something, like to get a little bit different, or one of the other Buffalo pass catchers. So if you got, like I said, the Kelsey and Kincaid teams, you can really get different within those teams, and late swap opportunities as well. So just one thing to look at there.
Yeah, Tight, I'll let you take it over. Definitely more options at tight end to talk about, and we got it summed up pretty good on the screen, I think, with these 6. It's some form of these. Any different thoughts on how you're using them or ways that you might go about handling the tight end position?
No, 2 tight ends I think is definitely strong, because like you can drop Terry McLaurin down to Zach Ertz. Why can't that work? It could be a difference between $1 million and 50,000. Yeah, I would definitely take 50,000, but I'd prefer the $1 million. You can sustain a losing streak a lot longer that way. And why can't Zach Ertz outscore Terry? If it wasn't for Terry's screen pass last week, again, I didn't watch the game too much, but I was following the box score. He wasn't really doing anything until he took that to the house. So little things like that when he's on the field a ton. Both Noah Gray and Dawson Knox played over 50% of snaps last week. Dawson Knox has actually outsnapped Kincaid the past 2 weeks. I mean, you can easily play Dawson Knox. I'll definitely be doing it. I'll be playing more of my Knox teams will have Josh Allen, because when Knox does get there, I expect it most likely to be a touchdown, and that means Josh is throwing one, which helps him. But I like Noah Gray a lot too. Noah Gray actually at ownership might be one of my favorites. I do agree with Hoop. Like, I do think the Chiefs try and run the football, and if they don't have success, Noah Gray is going to be a really solid option for them. They don't feel comfortable with Juju. They don't feel that comfortable with D-Hop, so it seems. Noah Gray's outsnapping both of them. Very solid price tag, low ownership too, so definitely in there. To be honest, I might be all overweight, all tight ends except Kelsey, and I'll definitely play a lot of Kelsey, but I could see him being like 65% owned or something like that on this slate. The higher stakes, the more single entry, the more it's Kelsey, I think. Again, he leads the receiving props on this slate. He has the highest yards compared to A.J. Brown, compared to Terry. It's a tight end position where it's solid, but you still have to play one. A lot will play two. You get a price discount from those guys. So I like Kelsey. I have no bad things to say about him, but I think there's 5 very live pivots with those guys, and I'll be playing some 2 tight end sets that just don't have Kelsey. They're all cheaper than them. So I'm not saying I necessarily want to drop Kelsey down to Noah Gray, leave 3,000 and go about it that way. But you can build a team that leaves 1,200 on the table without Kelsey. And the next highest priced tight end is Goddard, 1,500 there. It gets you on a little different roster construction. So yeah, to be honest, I'll probably be overweight. Again, I hate running backs, so I have to naturally be overweight receiver, tight end, double tight end, the flex. I'll probably be overweight Goddard, Ertz, Kincaid, Gray, Knox, under Kelsey, and again, I'm locking Saquon. So that's one stance to help me get a little different. By no means am I fading Kelsey though, but when I do go Saquon and Kelsey, then I really have to start thinking about my other spots to not be holding hands with everyone.
Yeah, Josh just said that. I think that's perfect. But like, yeah, this is then he says Ray Davis is going to be off. There you go. Like, there's literally so many ways. When people say this, you have 9 spots and 2 of them are going to be high owned for great reason. So like you said, this is another key point, and Josh is hitting on them all. But I would not group away these guys. Like, that's exactly how you get different with Mahomes or Josh Allen. You can play both those guys. If you have these guys, if you have lineups like this and Saquon, you're still way different with a Kelsey and Saquon lineup. So it's just the way the pricing is. It's just the way the slate is. But there's a ton of different angles you can take. Somebody mentioned Amari or Hollywood. Amari is going to be way less owned than Hollywood for $100 less. If you're not on Kincaid, or if you're moving pieces around, if you've got Josh Allen and you like that setup, then maybe that's a way to go to get different within your lineup. But one is going to be way lower owned than the other. And then does it make sense with the rest of your stack, your correlation, whatever else you're doing? It's just a 2-game slate. So definitely think that. Also, a lot of these things go out the window too. Shout out to Gerald, always here. Great supporter of the show. We appreciate you. I should say too, if you guys love the free shows, we do this for all sports. So we didn't spend a lot of time on it, but if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, That's the reason to subscribe. You don't miss out on any of the free shows. We break down everything. We pull up our tools. We really show off and give away as much as we possibly can. And that's a great reason to subscribe. Another great reason is when we get to 10,000 subscribers, which we're almost there, we're going to be giving away a $1,000, $9.99, we'll call it, membership for all access with our optimizer. So just to note that. But yeah, I'm not really going to worry too much about negative correlation and stuff on just a 2-game slate. And my last thing on tight end before we go to defenses and whatever else, but the setup here of, what was I going to say? The tight end thing. There was something else I was going to mention. I lost my train of thought. If I get it, I'll come back to it. Hoop, anything else you want to add there? If not, you could take us into defense.
No, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go, and late swap opportunity, like we kind of talked about, which is somewhat important when you have 2 tight ends in this last game that are going to be very popular. A lot of teams, if you just naturally go in and build, they're going to have Kelsey and Kincaid. And I guess I talked about just swapping off of Kincaid. There's other opportunities to swap as well. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers on it, but like if you do have Kelsey and Kincaid, and, you need to get a little bit different, you can go to Knox and probably Knox and like James Cook, like something like that. You can get to like James Cook type teams where I think, like I said, I think you get squeezed a little bit, or maybe it's Noah Gray in James Cook. That probably works out a little bit better. So there's going to be opportunities to late swap involving tight ends, I think, because you have 4 tight ends really in that last game, in that second game, that are very viable options today. So and we know a lot of we like them, the 2 tight end teams. There's going to be a lot of 2 tight end teams. So it's just something to look at going into that later game today.
Yeah, that's the part I forgot when I lost my train of thought. I was saying the other thing about the Kelsey stuff that Title mentioned, you just hit on it for me, was you may have a lot of Kelsey and then you may not later on if you're playing the game and looking at it, because if your early stuff goes bad, I mean, Kelsey's going to be the highest owned option there for sure. So you may have to make some uncomfortable swaps, and maybe it doesn't end up being a 2v2. Maybe it just has to be him down to Gray or down to Knox or something, and you just got to leave that money. It sucks, but it's one thing, and if it ends up helping you out or getting you into a spot, maybe situations like that will arise, and then maybe full-on changes for your whole lineup. But I think just in general, something to think about is that late swap is gonna happen at tight end more than most of the other positions on the slate. So anything else there, Hoop? If not, defense, quick takes. And then if you guys have your food stuff, throw it into the chat. I know they want to know if Hoop's doing any food for the games today now that his team is out. But what's your defense takes?
It is funny, just real quick on the food thing. It's every time I eat now, like I'm thinking like, man, is this interesting? Is it gonna, like, what are people gonna think about this? So every time I literally eat lunch, I don't eat breakfast. So lunch or dinner, this shit's running through my head. So
I've been rent-free in Hoop's head after that hockey puck statement.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it is nuts. Like last night I had my daughter had volleyball tournaments. We went to a bar restaurant after I ordered nachos, and there's olives on it. I started eating the olives just separately from the, just picking the olives and eating them. Like a lot of the people in the chat don't like olives. That's something that Hoops on the other side. In terms of defense, like, you guys know what I'm doing. Like anytime I've had a 6-figure plus win in NFL, for some reason it's included the Eagles defense. So I'm going to stay loyal to my Eagles defense. I mean, they're going to be the highest owned, but I will have a lot of them. Then the other 3, whatever I get with the Bills, Chiefs, Commanders. I actually kind of like the Commanders a little bit, being lighter on the Eagles passing game stuff. I think they fit naturally well with my team. So probably, I'll lean to the Commanders, but I'll take whatever. I mean, Eagles definitely number 1, and then those other 3, whatever I get.
I really like the defenses in the second game and just roulette wheel. The other thing is I think you could just play the defenses against their quarterback in that game too. Like that's another way to get your game stack different, because most people with Mahomes or Josh Allen lineups have the Eagles D. You go look at your lineups. They're already built. Most of you I know. Go look at them. They have Mahomes, they have Allen, and then they got Eagles D. So when knowing everybody has that, there's a way that you can easily see Josh Allen make some Lamar-esque mistakes and the Kansas City D be needed, or vice versa. You can see Mahomes finally make some mistakes or things like that. He doesn't make a lot, but the Buffalo D looked pretty solid last week until kind of that second half when the Ravens made their adjustments, but they were doing their thing early on. So, Title, I'll kick it to you real quick, and then we already got some of these food questions popping in there. So anything on the Ds?
Yeah, not really. I lean the home teams if I had to pick. Right now, I think Chiefs is my highest exposed, but all these quarterbacks have some sort of legs to them and can try and make plays which then makes mistakes, like we saw with Lamar last week. Who's the most likely to do that? Hurts maybe on a banged up knee. Josh Allen trying to be Superman, but again, it's so one play will change it all. Which hopefully you're on the right side.
Yeah, I like this one too, Josh. Obviously, anytime you can just play the D against the chalkiest quarterback, certainly an option there. In non-Mahomes lineups, I'll have that. Like I said, I'll play Bills D in Mahomes lineups too. I don't care. So I think that's going to do it. And Gerald came through and said, don't forget your Pepsi, old man. He's mixing all the jokes together now from all the previous shows. So staying sharp. We, again, appreciate you, Gerald. This was a good one, though, Hoop, right out of the gates, because the show's over. We got through all the stuff. The main thing is the food takes at the end. Yeah. But I am curious, what did you do for yourself after that loss? Because you were at the game, right?
Yep.
Did you stop and get anything, or did you wait till you get home?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I did actually eat. I usually avoid eating late, but it was a long day. Got down pretty early. Started consuming some beverages and whatnot. Me and Mrs. Hoop went to the casino after, and obviously had some drinks. Watched the end of the UFC fight. She was playing some slots. I was watching the UFC fights. So we were there pretty late. I think it was probably 2:30, and ended up going to the cafeteria there and having what did I eat? I had a cheeseburger at 2:30 in the morning. So I had a cheeseburger at 2:30 in the morning after a lot of drinks, and I may have had some fries as well. So that, I guess, was my comfort food that night. But the reason it was just limited options. It was either that or like a Reuben sandwich or like mac and cheese or something. So I went with the cheeseburger at 2:30.
Did you get an extra cook on that burger? You tell him to slam that thing back on the grill?
Make that shit well done. Give me a hockey puck on there. So your hockey puck, you put the little comments after your order is on the screen. I'm like, give me a hockey puck.
Oh, I should say, before we finish the food takes, because now some people bail, but the Tambo teaser, why can't the Commanders do it again? I'm putting it on the line. Yeah. It is Commanders plus 12. Everyone just thinks Eagles, Chiefs. Eagles, you can get them at a pick 'em in the teaser. I'm taking the Commanders side. Jaden Daniels is special. We're taking Commanders plus 12. We're taking Bills plus 8. That's the 6-point teaser. That's putting it on the line. And then we got the Brian Robinson over 36.5. My man Nick said it was over. It went up a yard already. It's 37.5. And this was what I was just going to bring up because it was set at 12.5 with 1.5 shots. What it ended up being?
So this was probably a pretty, I didn't count, but it's probably a pretty accurate number. It's definitely somewhere in that range, but it did remind me of a somewhat of a talking point. So get into the stadium again. If I go, I'm a lot of times in a suite. That's not like a how rich sort of thing. I just have a good connection. So I'm not paying for drinks. This time I'm in the seats. So walk in. I didn't really want a beer because you guys know the bladder stuff. I'll be peeing every 2 seconds. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to get a mixed drink or something. So they have a stand for mixed drinks. So go grab a drink. I got a Jack and Coke or something. You want a double? I was like, yeah, I'll just take the double, make it a little stronger. Don't have to pee as often. Mrs. Hoop got Tito's and like lemonade or something like that. She gets a double as well. And I knew it'd be expensive, but like, $65 for 2 mixed drinks. I'm like, how do people afford this shit? Like, how are people going to NFL games that often? Like, that is expensive. You buy tickets, you buy parking, you buy food, you buy drinks. Like, you're in for easily like well over $1,000. I was like, this shit is expensive. $65 for 2 mixed drinks. So that may have put me on the under because I slowed that shit down. Like I'm cheap. Like I'm not hammering a ton of these double Jack and Cokes at 65 a pop. Fuck no, man. Not doing that shit. So actually it could have been the under because of the price tag there.
So that's crazy.
Yeah.
What else do we got?
The UFC's the nuts to go to, but if you're not in a suite, that's the problem with that. Think of 8 hours you're sitting around, 9 hours.
Yeah.
You're spending hundreds of dollars.
Similar price tags? Yeah, especially in California.
California, exactly.
Hoop is locking Barkley today, maybe, potentially. But so no cap at running back at least, but other positions. I mean, at wide receiver, I think I want to be able to get as many options in that I can make it make sense. So That position is going to be extremely high variance today. Who broke it down earlier? I think for sure at wide receiver, even at tight end, to Title's point, mix in, get your overweight stances on sort of all the options, and come in at the field or just underweight on Kelsey, and you could be in a good spot that way too.
Yeah, obviously, but there's a 3.5 hour football game. I'm not going to like hammer drinks and then sit there sober for 3 hours. Like once I get it going, I got to keep it going. Like I can't shut it down for 3 hours during the game. Like, yeah, of course I'm tailgating and drinking before, but I ain't shutting it down.
I will say, I remember I tailgated with Hoop once. He can drink some, but he did tap out. He did tap out for a fireball shot.
Whoa.
Yeah, you passed.
Whoa,
you
dude,
said you had to slow down. Todd and I did
down.
it.
Slow down.
Hoop had a pass. He couldn't choke it down.
Wait. You saying I shut it down? You're saying?
Yeah. You passed on one. You were like, I have to wait till I get in. You were getting a little too drunk.
Oh, I didn't shut down the drinking. I mean,
you passed on a shot.
I'm gonna pump the brakes on a shot. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Little lightweight over with Hoop. He can drink a bit, but there's levels.
Yeah. Oh, there's levels. Yeah. Okay, dude. I'm not on you.
He passed on one. He said he passed on one. What was the Super Bowl food must-haves? Super Bowl party. What do you got to see there?
I got to see some buffalo chicken dip. That's definitely my number one. I love that buffalo chicken dip. So good. So good.
And that's the one you're okay with the scoop chips on, just not salsa. Salsa needs the flat.
Yeah, no, I'll scoop that shit. I'll max that out. I'll have it overflowing, a nice mound. Like it's not going to be the salsa where it's just like straight in, straight out. Make sure none of the shit gets on there. No, I'm taking it all. But that's definitely my weakness is that sort of food. You get that. You get like chicken wings, like that sort of. Yeah, that sort of stuff. Like I'll regret the next day because like I'll be diving into all that shit for sure. Besides pizza. No pizza.
Yeah, he's always out on that. Title, you got any favorites in Super Bowl?
Yeah, I love wings. If it's an appetizer, pigs in a blanket. Always a big fan over here. Wings was that came to my mind.
What is the pigs in a blanket? Is that like the little like sausages with the like pastry around them?
Yep.
Oh, exactly nice. I like those actually. What do you dip those in?
Good.
Ketchup is my favorite to dip them in. Sometimes I'll eat them plain.
Mustard. I like them with the mustard.
I like them with the mustard. Yeah. Wings well done, of course, he says, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Guac. Oh, yeah. What about that? We never had this come up before.
Yeah.
Are you a guacamole guy?
Fuck no. I hate
guac. On wings? Oh, just
not on wings.
In general. Guac can be a different conversation. I'm out on the guac, man. Hell no.
You don't like avocado?
I'll eat avocado. Mrs. Hoop, she's into all that shit. She likes the like avocado like toast and stuff. She'll do that. I'll eat it like that, but not with not guacamole style because everyone puts onion and tomato and no, I'm out.
Mrs. Hoop has all the right taste. Anytime we get to the food segment, swap Hoop out, get Mrs.
I'm not American. That's a Mexican thing, right? Guacamole. That's not American food.
He says if you don't like it, because people always go to like Chipotle too, right? Like that's always the thing. Extra chicken, get some guac on there. Like that's.
I'm just getting.
Talk about $30 later too, right there.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
I'm not American because I don't like guac. That's a bad take, man. That's a Mexican food.
You know what? I got to tell you this story quick though, because it's coming up. It's my birthday week. I was very hungover yesterday.
Happy birthday.
I wasn't into the mix as much as I could have been, but. We were like needing some grease and some hangover food. And I think this is a smart decision. A local business around me that nobody else would have this. You know what they added as like a feature special on their menu, Hoop? Detroit style pizza. Nice. Because it does stand out. It's like, oh shit, like that's different than something else. It's not New York. It's not Chicago, like what everybody would expect. So I got a Detroit style pizza yesterday. It was no buddies, but it did the trick, man. It was definitely good. A good thing to go to. So I was pretty pumped to see that. I thought it was a super sharp move from a marketing perspective because it stood out like crazy when you're going through like it's not Uber Eats either. It's like they call it skip the dishes, but you look through all the options. It's like a big picture of that pizza. It was a good call.
That's what the app is. Uber Eats, DoorDash, skip the dishes.
Skip the dishes. That's what we call it up here.
I like that.
We have Uber Eats and stuff too, but it's not very big. Like it's crazy around here, where I live at least. Uber is there, but it's just not as busy. It's not like when you go to like one of your guys' places, I can get an Uber and there's like 1,000 within a 5 meter or 5 mile radius. This is like 3 or 4 are cruising around the town, and you got to hope that they can find your house and get out there and do all this stuff. It's just a pain in the ass.
I will say, Mexican's like your favorite food, you said. So regardless,
it is, but
I'm surprised you don't like guac.
The problem I have with guac is, again, like it's the they put the onions, and I hate onions. Like, so a lot of guac is onion, and I'm too picky.
What about corn tortillas or flour? I know someone mentioned that a couple shows ago.
Yeah, I'm really not all that picky when it comes to that. I'm good with whatever, to be honest with you.
Yeah, who doesn't like pizza? But someone talked me into this. I got this when I was in Chicago. Rio was at the baseball live final and brought me down. Got that on the last night. It was good, but it wasn't. I don't know, just my take. It wasn't like write home and tell everyone about this pizza. Good. It was a good pizza for sure. But how do
you pronounce that?
Pequods. I think they said Pequods. But one thing I will say, did you ever have this sandwich, Hoop? Have you been to Chicago?
Yep.
Did you ever have it's called like Big Al's or something? It's a sandwich. You can get it wet or dipped, and it's a beef sandwich. That was a top 5 sandwich. It was phenomenal.
It's good. No, I've been to Chicago a bunch. No, I've never come across that one. No.
It's by Wrigley's. Someone in the chat, maybe Dennis knows. He's the Chicago guy, but it was, or Dave, but it was called is it Al's Beef? There it is. Donovan.
Al's Beef, original name. I mean, that's straight to the point. You know what you're getting there. You're getting Al's Beef.
Yeah, Al's. It's literally amazing though. Portillo's is all right. I had that one too, but the Al's was the one, man. We went back. I got another one. It's Italian beef sandwich. So good. It's like the beef has been sitting there all day, just marinating up. And if you get it dipped, it's too wet. But you can get wet, and they just give it like a tap in, and then you get a little bit of the flavors. Oh man,
the beef's been sitting there all day, and it's so wet. Like, man, what a great selling point for a meat sandwich.
Yeah, you like a meat sandwich?
No, I'll pass on those roast beef curtain sandwiches.
Oh God! You ever have it, Title?
I've had Italian beef. So I haven't had that exact place. I will say I'm kind of on Portillo's. I think is definitely overrated.
Yeah,
but a really good one, like people are saying, I would definitely try a good Italian beef.
Yeah, we went
I've been to this place, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
good spot. We went there too.
Yeah.
A wet beef sandwich sounds scary.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm on that path for sure. That sounds a little bit risky. That sounds definitely a little bit risky.
I was scarfing it. I thought they were delicious, man. I went back for more.
What's your hangover food, Tam? Was it pizza? You said you were hungover and you went pizza?
No, I don't know. Usually it's like burgers. My wife loves burgers, so we're always getting that, or even homemade burgers. We make them here, barbecue them up in the summertime. Like, that's the way to go. But pizza was just whatever reason yesterday because the kids, and they'd already had they were at the grandparents while we went out the night before, and so they already got McDonald's. So it was like, we're not getting burgers and fries again, so let's get pizza. And we just saw that. It stood out. I remembered the Buddies. It was pretty good, man. It was a pretty solid
I'm with you, though. I'll do the burger for sure the next day if I'm feeling a little rough. Like the burger, some Five Guys. That's another place that just robs you blind. Like Five Guys, like, man, you're paying a premium for that shit nowadays.
But they throw like an extra 100 fries in a bag that costs nothing.
To make up for it.
Such a good deal. It is good, though. But this is true. Hoop doesn't like the wetness. He wants
like A1. Dump that A1 all over it. Makes it good.
A1 blue cheese, a hockey puck. There you go.
Let's go, man. Let's go. That sounds so good.
I do like chicken fried rice, but also fried chicken. I forgot to say that. That's a great hangover food. I'll just go get some fried chicken. That'll solve everything.
Yep.
All right. What else? Anything else here?
Best hangover food, chicken fried rice. Man, I like chicken fried rice, but I don't know if
when I'm hungover, I don't think it's my go-to.
Yeah, that ain't getting the job done. That's definitely not getting the job done.
Oh yeah, what about that? Are you a pork chop guy, Hoop?
I don't know. It's like super.
He said it was too chewy for him.
Yeah, too chewy. That? It's like
what a steak is it?
Yeah. If I'm gonna do that, I'd rather just give me a hockey puck steak instead.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Like people sleep on the broasted or whatever you want to call it. Like that's good. The fried chicken and waffles, obviously good. Maple syrup on there.
Yeah, see, I'm out on that. I mean, I'd eat it, but it does not sound appealing.
Oh, delicious. So good.
No, I'll pass on that. Just give me.
He doesn't like runny egg either.
I don't like eggs. Yeah, I don't like eggs. So just give me the burger. Yeah. Just the burger's good enough.
Hoop's order. He said chicken fried rice with no onion, no seasoning, no sauce, no chicken. Thank you.
Definitely no onion. That is, yeah. So that is funny because obviously I'm sure you guys know when we order food here, Mrs. Hoop handles it all. And if we're getting Chinese or anything like that, it's like make sure there's not onion on that chicken fried rice. So that is spot on.
Oh man, this is a Canadian thing for sure. My guy Travis got us here again, but this is actually good. Have you ever had a breakfast? Have you ever had a poutine in general? Like, have you ever got to try it? It's like French fries with cheese curds and a gravy that melts it all together. It's just delicious. It's like a common Canadian thing people always talk about, especially in Montreal. But you can get a lot of these places adapted it. And I know you won't like it, Hoop, because it's eggs, but it's actually so good. You get like nice crispy hash browns, scrambled eggs, bacon, or whatever your meat of choice is. They'll put some peppers and some onion, and then they do a hollandaise sauce instead of a gravy, and it's a breakfast poutine. And it is so good. That is a good hangover food.
Sounds like a skillet. Sounds like some sort of a skillet kind of.
Like that. It's like that.
That sounds really good.
Do it up for you. It's really good.
That sounds really good.
Sushi. Yeah, we talked about sushi. I mean, I'll eat it, but like I'm not eating all the crazy like raw fish stuff. Like I just want the basics. Like I want a California roll or something. I can't do like the crazy like raw fish shit. Like if that's what you're asking, I'll eat sushi, but
no tuna, no raw fish, no wet beef. Hoops out on all that stuff.
Yeah, just got to be the basic. The basic is California roll, which is, I'm sure no one's surprised about.
Yeah. I don't see anything else. Someone said it had that Montreal. Yeah, it's good. A lot of people have tried it. It's good. Have you ever had poutine, Title?
No, I haven't, but I definitely would try it. It sounds like I love skillets. I get skillets a lot. And I love hollandaise sauce. Eggs Benedict, like that.
Eggs Benedict is fire. Yeah, I can't believe Hoop doesn't like eggs. That's another solid egg session.
I will eat a omelet if it has the right stuff on it. It's got to be like meat with cheese, and that's it. Like obviously no veggies or anything. So like a meat lovers. That's the only time I really eat eggs is on that sort of setup.
You could be a grown-ass man who, with how much you hit the gym, if you actually intake the good food, you could be a good 220, all muscle.
I'm already a grown-ass man, Tyler. Just remember your boy will toss your ass around whenever you want. You and Nades. Where's Big Nades? Is he still here?
Oh, no, he's going at Nades again. Jeez.
The old man will toss you around. Don't forget that.
Hey.
Bloody Mary, yeah. Solved the hangover real quick.
Yeah, that is the best way to solve a hangover for sure, is to suck down a Bloody Mary. That's definitely for sure.
Johnny's right. You're reaching the it's Groundhog Day again, but that's coming up soon, by the way. I think, what is it, February 2nd? We got to see if the groundhog sees his shadow and find out if we're getting 6 more weeks of winter. So we'll see. But I think the Bloody Mary was a good call to round it out. Any final thoughts from you guys before we get out of here?
Hoop ain't tossing shit around. That's all I got.
Yeah, right. You don't want to step up to the plate. Just remember, just sit that one out, big dog. Excited for the football games today, man. It's gonna be, like you said in the opening, probably the best day for football. These teams have everything to play for. A spot, a ticket to the Super Bowl. It's gonna be fun. Obviously, we still have that promo going. Talked about it. Ship 50. $49 for our all access with Shiptimizer. Gets you access to all our content, Optimizer as well, and like we keep teasing, we got some very big things on the horizon that will be encompassed in this package right now. So it's a perfect time to get in and give us a shot. Discord access as well.
Yeah, best time to get in was yesterday. Title, anything final from you?
2 great games. Again, do not forget about the late swap stuff as well. Playing the min cash game, you think you have a chance to ship? Are you blocked in 1 or 2 spots? That a pivot here and there can get you to the top. So with the stagger times, always important. Man, what a slate though. $1 million up top. FanDuel has big boy prizes as well. I think we covered it well. Receiver, got to get the wide receiver room right. Quarterback, defense, ownership pretty spread out. So it's a really good 2-game slate at the end of the day. Even with the mispricing, can leave a bunch of salary, what you want to do with Saquon. But, yeah, I'm ready for some 2 awesome football games.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think both the first one, everyone's counting on the second one, but I think the first one's going to surprise, put everything out there for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on these free videos. We do them for all sports. We've got more NBA stuff coming your way starting next week because everything's sort of dying down with the football stuff, the 2-week break. So be in tune for that. It'll be Monday through Saturday with the quick hit on Saturday. So there's going to be a lot of free shows. Make sure you're subscribed. For Title, for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!